Romans 11, verse 7. By faith, Noah, when he warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear, built an ark to save his family. By faith, he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. Let me read it again. By faith, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear, built an ark to save his family. By faith, he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. What is heir of the righteousness? He became heir. Just like, remember that what Paul says, that no one receives an inheritance until someone has died. And so likewise, they didn't receive their salvation until Jesus died. They're not receiving their covenant or the fulfillment of the covenant, the inheritance of the covenant, until Jesus died. It didn't go into effect, the inheritance of the covenant. And so Noah is an heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith, that is found through Jesus Christ. Genesis 6. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and the daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. Okay, Nephilim are just giants. Look it up. They are not angels, dark angels. Those are false doctrines. You can throw that out. Go to Strong's, look up Nephilim. They are giants. So, for example, there were Neanderthals, right? There were skulls found of Neanderthals. We know that these were giants. Okay, could have been them. Maybe, maybe not. But we know that giants have existed. No need to make stuff up. There's enough to try to swallow in the word already. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Only evil all the time. Goodness, where are we at right now? The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. So make for yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in it, and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Make a roof for it, leaving below the roof an opening 1 cubit high all around. Put a door in the side of the ark and make lower, middle, and upper decks. I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens, every creature that has the breath of life in it. Everything on the earth will perish, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of every kind of bird, of every kind of animal, and of every kind of creature that moves along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. You are to take every kind of food that is to be eaten and store it away as food for you and for them. Noah did everything just as God has commanded him. By the way, did God show up to Noah? Like, did he show up to him and, in the flesh or something? No, God is spirit. And so God was speaking to Noah in the spirit. It's not as though, Noah got to see this with his flesh. We act like, oh, if I just saw you, God, if you just appeared to me, then I'd believe you. But now I think that, I've gone crazy over the things that you're telling me to do, right? It requires a lot to believe in the unseen. That's my point. You can't just go about your day and go about your life and expect to hear from God. You need to make time to sit down and listen to him and hear from him. Then you're going to know that it was actually God speaking to you and not some, caffeine intoxication. You have to learn how to become attuned and stop getting pulled away into your flesh, through distractions, through sugary things, through caffeine. You're going to have to learn how to sit and actually take that time to listen to God. Otherwise, why should he talk to you when you're so busy with your own life? Here, let me put it this way. When you sit down and you're actually listening to what he's saying, then when he says something like this to you, now you got to sit down and you got to chew on that. Do you think God gives you a Post-it note or something and you're like, yeah, I'll get to that when I have time? No, that's not how it works. You have to make the time. And in my personal experience, having done this for many years, even long before I had this channel, asking people to fast before I work with them, most people won't do it. And then of those who actually fast, most of them saying things like, I don't have time. I don't have time for God. I thought this was going to be a quick fix and then I could go on about my life. That's their attitude. How do you expect God to talk to you? You're not even listening. You wouldn't even treat a human being that way, right? I'm so busy. I'm going to jump on the subway. I'm going to go here and go there, go to work. Listen, if you want to talk to me, you're going to have to follow me. You're going to have to come along, for my life. Would you treat a human being that way? I didn't think so. But we all treated God that way for many, many years. And I suspect that most of you still do. Not taking the time to sit with him each day and listen to what he has to say. And then you complain that you don't hear from him. And the reason you don't hear from him is because you only want to hear from him based on what you want to know. You don't have any regard for what he wants to tell you, how he wants to correct you, how he wants to build you and mold you. Well, Noah was listening. And no doubt Noah had to sit and, maybe sort that through with God. All right, you sure? Are you sure? People are going to think I'm a little crazy. How am I going to explain this to my wife, my kids, their spouses? And then do you think that over the years that Noah was building this ark, that maybe he had to remind himself, yeah, God did say that to me, right? I'm not nuts, right? Well, everybody else was calling him nuts. Chapter 7, the Lord said to Noah, go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and for 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made. So, all that time, All that time, and not a single animal died in that ark. Imagine that, guys. God was able to do that. And Noah did all the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters came on the earth, and Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, of birds, and of all creatures that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark, and God had commanded Noah, as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days, the flood waters came to the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, on that day, all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, together with his wife and the wives of his 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, all livestock according to their kinds, every creature that moves along the ground according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, everything with wings. Pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them came to Noah and entered the ark. The animals going in were male and female of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. Okay, so sorry to use a worldly reference, but do all these animals flock to you? I mean, this was like Ace Ventura style. All these animals were brought by the Lord to the ark. If you had a rhinoceros following you or an elephant, it's usually not a good thing. But God brought these animals to the ark. Do you get what I'm saying? Usually you can't tame one animal to follow you this way. But God commands the beasts of the field, and he commanded them to go into the ark. Every creature that moves along the ground, according to its kind, and every bird, according to its kind, everything with wings, pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them, came to Noah and entered the ark. These animals going in were male and female of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. For 40 days the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits. Every living thing that moved on land perished, birds, livestock, wild animals, and all the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out. People and animals and the creatures that move along the ground and the birds were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left and those with him in the ark. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. But God remembered Noah and the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark, and he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The waters receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark, and he sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the waters dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground, but the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly picked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. Back to Hebrews 11, verse 7. By faith, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear built an ark to save his family. By his faith, he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. Okay, so he was not concerned anymore about what people had to say. You know, I was called a pompous, jaded heretic the other day because, someone said something and they thought that I should be concerned about their interpretation of me. I'm not. I'm not even going to apologize for that. I'm just not. I'm not concerned about what the world thinks of me. There was a time when I was greatly concerned about what the world thought of me. I'm not anymore. I can't even afford to care in the things that God has me doing and saying. I could never get through a video if I was worried about what the world thought. Does that make me jaded? Well, I mean, if that's your definition of jaded, then by your definition, then I'm jaded. But what I say is God has completely cut that off of me. It is no longer a burden to me to worry about what other people think. And it has to be that way. It has to be that way. Because if I'm going to maintain the truth and I'm going to maintain integrity in God's house, then I can't be worried about any of those things. I can't be worried about my own ideas, my own understanding, whether people like me. How can you be worried about those things when the word tells you that you're going to be persecuted and hated for the name? How could you continue to be worried about those things? Not only will you not, are you not fitting into that description, but you're not going to be able to fulfill the role that God has set you apart to fill. I have to be completely used by him. That means however he feels about a particular thing or a person or a situation, I'm going to have to be used to also feel that feeling. I can't go based on my own understanding. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time with him, getting very familiar with him and being submitted to him and crushing my flesh and being low and afflicted in order to truly submit to what he's doing in me. It's a little bit like, I'm going to use a human example here. Do you know when people are doing that trust fall? It's like that. Like you're in a trust fall, like a spiritual trust fall all the time. That is literally the best analogy that I can use, is that you're in a spiritual trust fall all the time. But you're going to have a really good relationship with him in order to trust him to use you that way, in order to trust him to catch you and to move you. And you see these attitudes in people like Abraham and Noah. You know, God says something and it's like, okay, that's what I do. No questions, no whining, no grumbling. Certainly they had to work their heart into it. Like, wait, did I really just hear that from you? Okay. All right, bring my heart there. Surely it's the same thing that I go through. Lord, that's really hard what you're asking me to do, but can you bring my heart there, please? And then you receive that and you whittle your heart into what he wants. But you see that attitude in Abraham and Noah, like no questions asked. Okay, you said it. You said it. That's what I'm going to do. And then you see other examples in scripture like with Gideon. Lord, will you just confirm for me that this is actually, that you're with me and that this is what you're going to do. And now we have two witnesses. We have his spirit and his word. And so what God has taught me is anything that I think I'm hearing from him, to ask him, please prove it to me. Please confirm it in your spirit and your word. Your two witnesses. Use your two witnesses to prove to me that what you're saying, that you are actually saying this. And that's what I listen for. And that's what I believe he will do. And he does it every time. Because some of the things he tells me to do are outright bonkers. And some of those things are really difficult to do. And I need to make sure that I'm walking with him and that I'm not being deceived, that there's no part of what I think I'm hearing from God that is coming from myself or my own desires. Most of what I'm hearing from God is not coming from my own desires, I'll tell you that. Always have to have those two witnesses. You've been given them too, Holy Spirit and his word. That's why I'm able to stand in faith right now. That's why I know that he is going to reveal his glory, that he's going to come through with this housing situation, even though this is dire from the perspective of the world. Everything I've worked for is on the line right now. What am I telling you? Am I saying, everybody go into your bank accounts? No, I've told you don't do that. Do not pull together an offering so that no one can boast in what the Lord is going to do. No one pull together an offering. Who else is saying that? No one. No one is saying that to you. I know my God. I know the relationship I have with him. I am attuned to him on a daily basis. I know what he has said. I know what he has promised. I know who he is in his word. I know that is consistent with who I know today. I know who he was, who he is, and who he's going to reveal himself to be. That he will reveal himself in this situation. And that way we will know that he is God.